Good evening, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Good evening, Cliff. Appreciate you being along with us. Always a pleasure. Randy, how are you? Ricky, thanks for joining us. Hello, Kevin. How are you tonight? There we go. I can get rid of the music now. A little bit too loud. Anyway, it's a beautiful night here in my neck of the woods. Tom, good evening. How are you? Beautiful evening. Hello, Bernie. Glad to hear you're doing better. Wasn't it a beautiful day? Bill checking in from West Dayton Outdoors. Brenda Sue, hello. How are you? Brian says, congrats on the turkey. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I'm going to show some video of that hunt. It was a lot of fun. My patience, my persistence, my perseverance, and oh no, I don't want to loop it. Oh, it shouldn't have looped anyway. And just plain stubbornness too. Hey, Brent, how you doing, buddy? Ricky, I think I already said hi. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate that. It was a nice bird. It wasn't a monster bird. It had a 10-inch beard and very short spurs. Goose detergent. I have a deterrent. I have a new philosophy on the goose deterrent, and it's actually working pretty good because they're babies. What do you call babies? Baby geese. What do you call them? Goslings. They're on the pond, but they're not here in the backyard yet. Thank you, Jim. Good evening. How are you? Thank you, Ted. Appreciate that. A gorgeous evening for sure, Dennis says. The video is up, John. It's up on Instagram and it's up on Facebook, and I'm going to show some video here tonight as well. Good evening, John. How are you? Newly graduated John Callison of CMU, going to work for the, can I say? Kevin says the Bears are awake every night around 2:30 in the morning. Joe's back from the SVRC Marketplace. Good evening, Joe. How are you? My name is Mike Avery. This is Wednesday Night Live. It's something I do every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on my Facebook page, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Good evening, Julie. How are you? Is anybody actually on Twitter? Cliff is going to enjoy his after live beverage tonight. When I'm done, I'm going to take my Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Yeti, courtesy of this man right here, Craig Plowman, and I'm going to fill it about 1/3 full of Maker's Mark, about a little bit of Crystal Light, and some ice. Josh said he knew I would get it done. I thought I would. The walleye fill is unacceptable. I'm going to talk about that tonight, Jason. I have done some investigation on that. I have talked to the officer who did the investigation. I think I got a pretty good handle on the story, and I will talk about it. Ben says deep fried turkey nuggets for our supper tonight. Can't beat it. John says, yep, summer fisheries job for the DNR. Excellent. Bernie says he loves to see the pictures of the first-time turkey hunters. Love to invite you to the SVRC Marketplace to see what we have for you further events. I don't know what the SVRC Marketplace is. Excellent. Craig closed on the house in All Gray today, so now it's time to move. Well, congrats on closing. Moving stinks. Good evening. Out in the turkey blind, y'all do a turkey dance for me. Michigan Outdoors Report. Tim, good luck to you. Should be a good evening, right? I mean, we can't blame it on the weather right now, that's for sure. I'm painting the baits next week, so if anyone have colors that are nice for the bait, let me know. Well, I will send you some pictures, Brent. I have some very strong ideas on that. Yep, I will send you some color combinations, certainly. Lost Glove, good evening. You're in the old Saginaw News building. Oh, I know where that is, absolutely. Adam, congrats on your bird as well, Adam. Nice job. Brent, I'm going to make myself a note right now. Otherwise, I will forget. Today, Brent. BRN Baits. There. Oh, it is time for me to get the Angler Quest. It's past time for me to get the Angler Quest. I agree with you, Tom. Oh, good evening. You got the boat ready for Saginaw Bay walleye fishing today. Excellent. Yeah, I'm jonesing so bad now I can't stand it, especially after shooting that bird Monday. It's like that was the only thing holding me back from wanting to go full-blown walleye fishing, and now I want to go full-blown walleye fishing. Ryan says, when does the application period for the bear licenses? It's in right now, Ryan. In the state of Michigan, you have through June 1st to apply for a Michigan bear tag and a Michigan elk tag. In fact, I talk about it extensively on the radio show this week, and I will talk more about who's on the show. If I didn't throw the rundown away, no, I've got it. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Good evening, John. How are you? My pleasure, Ryan. And, you can get those on the website, michigan.gov/DNR. You can do it through the app on your phone, or you can go into any licensed agent. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. Now you know what time it is. It's time to get out there in the bay and do some skinny water trolling. One minor detail. One minor fly in the ointment. I don't have the new Angler Quest yet. Because I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. Especially when I hear the reports out there. Okay, so let me set the stage here a little bit. A lot of things I'm going to talk about tonight, including the weather. Isn't it nice? Am I going to pay to go over the bridge in Bay City? I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I honestly haven't. Since I don't live in Bay City, I haven't thought about it. I don't know why it costs as much to go over one bridge in Bay City as it does the entire Mackinac Bridge, but that's a different topic. Okay, so Monday, I missed a bird opening morning, 20 minutes into the season, 10 minutes into the season. I mean, it was early, still dark almost. Missed a bird opening morning. I had two longbeards come in on me, and I missed them. Found out my scope was off. Even after shooting, I'd put on a Tacticam, screwed it up. That's on me. That's my bad. That's my fault. I accept that. My season started April 22nd. Now I have ZZ. Good evening, Uncle Johnny. How are you? I'm going to stand by. I'm going to show you some video. People say, Avery, how are you still hunting turkeys? Well, my ZZ, Southern Michigan private land hunt, started April 22nd, and the season runs through the month of May. You can't beat it. So I hunted almost every night, or almost every day, either morning or night, since the beginning of the season. I've missed just a couple of days. I've jumped around to 3 different properties. All of them have birds on them. I have called in hens on almost every sit. But I couldn't get a longbeard in front of me. In fact, until the other day, the last longbeards I had seen were opening morning. 2 of them side by side. Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. So let me show you some video here. This is Monday morning. I'm sitting in my Wraith 270 see-through ground blind. I got 3 decoys in front of me. I've got Avian X decoys, the expensive but very realistic ones. I've got a feeding hen, an alert hen, and I just bought a semi-strut Jake decoy. And that is the ticket. Now watch this. Look at these. That's the semi-strut right there. Watch these birds circle this decoy, and they're pecking at it. They're not happy with it. But you see the Jake beard on the decoy? Look how realistic that looks. These 2 longbeards circled that thing for minutes. Now you notice there's actually, obviously, 2 birds there. One's a little bit bigger than the other one. I actually shot the short bird, or the smaller bird. Both of them are adult birds. Both of them have big beards. But look at them work over that decoy. What a beautiful, beautiful morning. Look at that. The sun is shining on those birds. They're 20 yards in front of me. They're directly in front of me. This video is being shot with my Tacticam. Getting pretty good quality. So check this out. It is absolutely, what a beautiful sight, right? Don't you love it when they're banging on that decoy? Okay, so the next video I'm going to show you. Hey, Larry, happy Wednesday to you as well. So the next video I'm going to show you is actually video of the shot. Hey, Johnny, you tuned in just in time for me to see the video of my shot. I just showed the video of the birds circling around the decoy. This next one is the shot. Now, keep in mind, I've got a brand new 10-point Viper S400. I'm shooting Rec FX4 broadheads. I would prefer an expandable for turkeys, but I couldn't get the expandables to fly right, so I went to the FX4. This is video of the shot. Oh, that's the wrong video. Oh, maybe I need to go back to this one. Maybe I make the shot on this one. I think I do. Okay, keep an eye on it. Yeah, this is the one where I shoot. Here he comes. Get ready. Boom. Center punched him. He knows he's been hit. The other bird, the bigger bird, now realizes there's something wrong. He turns around and he follows the bird. He pushes him along a little bit. You can tell the bird's going to die. Hey, don't get frisky there. And the bird piles up right there. Boom. Okay, right in sight. Here's the next video. The bird is dying, the one that I've shot, and the other bird comes in and beats him up. Okay? He's going to die, obviously, but look what this other bird does. His buddy, his pal. Nice, huh? 30 seconds ago, these guys were running buddies. Now he starts to peck at his head. And I'm not even going to show you the video of what this bird did to the first bird. But how cool is this? Look at that. He's picking at the head, pecking at the head. Mother Nature is pretty cruel, huh? Okay. Let me get to some comments here. Good evening, Brian. How are you? I hear you, Joe. Brent, that's good to hear. Say hi to Tracy for me. Did I aim for the wing? I aimed for the center of the body. I center punched him, and I actually was pretty happy with this shot. Johnny says, that's awesome. You're welcome, Sal. Yeah, I hit a bird when he's down. What a pal. Thank you, Gene. Appreciate that. You think he's saying no? Are you okay? No, I don't think so. Yeah, it turned out pretty good, Jerry. Okay, so one last video I'm going to show you. And this video was actually shot with my phone, if I remember right. So I showed you the video of the birds coming into the decoy, circling the decoy. I showed you the shot. The next one is the surviving bird beaten on the one that I killed. And now this one is video from my phone of the surviving bird going back and strutting around the decoy again. Oh, was that short? No. Putting on a pretty good show for me, don't you think? Again, actually 19 yards in front of me. What a show. If I would have had a second guy in the blind with me, we could have killed two birds. Kevin says, awesome experience, something you'll always remember. Yeah, I will, because I got it up here, and I got the video from it too. And I don't even take a video camera with me in the blind anymore. I use the Tacticam that is on the crossbow, and I use my phone. That last video you were just looking at right there was shot with my phone. John says, why did they do that to the one that is shot? I've seen that 4 different times now. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? Bernie says, maybe that was turkey CPR. Cliff said, did Dixie Dave give you a recipe this week on how to cook the bird? He did, but I'll tell you what we did. This was pretty cool. I shot the bird Monday morning. I breasted it out. I gave them, I cleaned them up, put them in the fridge. My wife, Denise, said, let's cook up one of these today. So today being Monday, she put it in a crock pot with white wine, some spices, a little bit of onion. And did I tell you white wine? Oh, and small potatoes. And she let it cook for 8 hours in a crock pot. Now, I was worried that maybe it was still going to be tough. After 8 hours, I had a meeting that night at church. I came home. It was so good. And it was so tender. And it had such great taste. It was so tasteful, so tasty. The potatoes were great. So if you were only going to cook it for a few minutes, it was going to be tough. But putting it in a crock pot for 8 hours, it was so good. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And yes, Mother Nature can be one of those things. She can certainly be. So I thought you would get a kick out of that video. I hope you did. I will probably show it again just before we call it a night. But it's pretty cool to have the memories of that, not just in my brain, but on camera as well. I will not be putting a full-blown video together of my turkey hunt, but just snippets, vignettes like you've seen. And that's probably the same thing I'll do with my Ontario bear hunt that's coming up now in 3 weeks. In just 3 weeks, I'm heading to Ontario for a bear hunt. Hey, good evening, Jim. How are you? I appreciate your comments. Good evening, Bruce. How are you? Not that it matters, because it was an adult bird and I wasn't going to be picky. It had a 10-inch beard. And let me see if I can show you the spurs. I didn't measure the spurs because they were pretty small. Let me see if I can grab it real quick and upload it and let you see it. There's the spurs right there. File, export. Let me see if I can bring it in through here now. Present, slide, your computer, upload file from right there. Oh, it doesn't want me to upload it. Okay. The spurs were pretty small. Brian says, good things come to nice people. Stubborn people. I think if there's any kind of a lesson in this, is that be patient, don't give up, perseverance and stubbornness. Was that at my number 1 spot or over by me? No, that was actually on my number 3 spot up by Pinconning. Tim says, do I like the spring or fall bears? And by the way, I have to give a shout out to a new friend of mine, Kurt. I won't give his last name because I don't think it matters. But through a friend of a friend, I found out about Kurt's property, and Kurt said, yeah, we've got birds here. We killed a couple of them opening morning. If you want to come up, come up. So I did, and I appreciate that. Tim says, do I like spring or fall hunts better in Ontario? I definitely like fall hunts better. The reason I'm doing a spring hunt, my daughter Shelby is getting married at the end of summer, and there's no way I can be gone a week in the middle of August. So I'm going the first week in June. It's going to cut into my fishing time. It makes me nervous because I have so many charity trips to do this year. But that's when I'm going. Did the trolls come after the video? A little bit, not too bad. Jason says, how many of you thought I had to track the bird? Those early pics made it seem like you were. Jason, you know that was intentional, right? I like to build a little suspense, as you had said in your earlier comments. And I found it interesting that when I showed the blood on the ground, some turkey hunting experts came out of the woodwork and came up from underneath their rocks, and they said, oh, well, if you're tracking a bird, you made a bad shot. You used the wrong broadhead. You shouldn't have to track it. Well, as you saw in the video, I didn't have to track it. Jake, good evening. How are you? Dan, nice to have you along with us. Good evening, Tony. The spurs are tough eating. Good evening, James. Chris checking in from Kansas. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these nets that were found on Saginaw Bay, up on Wigwam Bay, and the video showed up on social media, on Facebook. The nets are trap nets. They were full of fish, full of dead fish. A lot of people are upset by this video. I'm upset by the video. Scott says, don't worry, I'll take care of that skinny water while you're not around. Yes, but you will, Scott. So I did not see those nets firsthand. I did see the video of them, and I followed up on it. I checked with the DNR. I had to make a few phone calls to get the right person, but I actually talked with the investigating officer from the commercial fish division of the DNR, and we talked about that case specifically. Color phase bears. That's an interesting term. I know it's common for people to say color phase bears. I don't use that term because to me, when somebody says color phase, it means, well, it's just a phase and it's temporary and the bear will turn to a different color. Okay, well, it's black bear now, but soon it's gonna be a cinnamon color phase and then a brown color phase. So I don't use the term phase, but I know what you mean. There are a few cinnamon bears up there, but very darn few. What you will see a fair number of is black colored bears with a blaze of some type. Um, um, and I'm telling you, because I'm under a real time crunch, 3 reasons. I got to get back for Walleye for Warriors. I've got to get back and try to get some charity fishing trips on. And I've also got to get back because of everything going on around home with the wedding and the plans. Let me see when I am. Let me look at a calendar here, Mark. I'm crossing over. I'm crossing over to the other side on Friday the 2nd. And I'll be heading to White River. Good evening, car hauler. Whoop, there you go. How are you? Okay. Getting back to these nets on Saginaw Bay, I talked to the investigating officer. Here's what I found out. Those were not tribal nets, which I pretty much knew because the tribes can't come down that far, at least for now. So it was a non-tribal DNR licensed commercial fisherman, and I heard he was second or third generation. So it was been around this business for a long time. The nets were up in shallow water, obviously. I think he was targeting perch, which is a legal target for Saginaw Bay commercial fishermen. However, the nets were full of walleye, which is not a legal target for commercial fishermen on Saginaw Bay. The investigating officer says that now, let me back up a step. I find it interesting that if you trap muskrats on dry land or in a creek or a pond behind the house here, if you trap muskrats, there is a law that says you have to check those traps every day down here and every 2 days in the Yoop, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it is a law that you have to check those traps. Interestingly enough, there is no law that says commercial fishermen have to check their nets in a given time period. Nothing in writing says a commercial fisherman has to pull his nets or check his nets every day or 2 days or even every week. There's nothing on the books. Jake says for trapping, it's every day down here, not for commercial fishermen. But the investigating officer I checked with said it's basically a self-regulating law. And by that, he means that if you are targeting a given species, you're going to want to check those nets because when they get those given species in there, your legal target, you're going to want to pull them so you can make money. So he says it's self-regulating. The commercial fisherman says that it's obvious they're trap nets. The commercial fisherman says that fish should be able to get out of trap nets. He says the walleye should have been able to swim into and get out of those trap nets. They're not gill nets. They should have been able to get out of the trap nets, according to the fisherman. He says something must have happened. He says that somebody must have messed with his nets. And by that, he means did something to him, pulled one of the lines incorrectly, went out there and messed with him, pulled it up to see what was in it or whatever. And by doing that, it screwed up the net's ability for the walleye to get out of the nets. That's what the commercial fisherman says. The investigating officer, who has some experience with that commercial fisherman, because he used to be a regular game warden in that area, says that I don't want to say he believes the commercial fisherman, but he says, in his opinion, that commercial fisherman is a reputable commercial fisherman and a stand-up guy. So the investigation is over. There will be no citations, no tickets, no arrests, no nothing, because there is no law on the books that says commercial fishermen have to check their nets. Game wardens don't write laws. You and I don't write laws. Who writes laws? So if you think this is the fish were definitely dead. So if you think that there should be a law or a regulation or a rule that says commercial fishermen are required to check their nets, you need to be talking to the politicians in Lansing. Interesting, isn't it? I found the entire topic very, very interesting. How many dead walleye were there? I don't know, Bernie. Hundreds. The nets were absolutely full of fish. Thank you, Art. Appreciate that. Art, you missed the video. I showed the video of me shooting that bird. I might show it again here in a few minutes before we wrap up. Were the fish dead? Very dead. Okay, what else is on my list here? I wanted to talk about the weather because it's absolutely beautiful now, isn't it? Talk about the nets. I did that. My turkey hunt. I showed a video. I told you details. I will talk some more about it. Along the idea of turkey hunting, a lot of people send me, didn't have any steps in today, did they? A lot of people send me video or want to send me pictures of their turkey hunts. And I want to share them. I want to see them. I want to share them. All right, Johnny, have a good night. Say hi to the folks at Andy's. Ha, ha, ha. And it used to be on Facebook. You could just, you as a Facebook, as somebody on my Facebook page, could click a button, post your picture, be done with it. I could click another button and share it. Can't do that anymore. Facebook has changed. So the best way to do it now, and it's a pain for you and it's a pain for me, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Attach the picture you want me to share. Give me some information, some details, and then I'll download it and post it. It's a pain. All right, head to the fire hall. All right, Johnny. Walleye possession limit. What did he do with a dead walleye? He had to let them go. They were rotten. He had to just open his nets and let them go. Send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com with your pictures. I will then share them. It's a pain for you. It's a pain for me, but Facebook doesn't care. Next Wednesday night, next week, Cliff, you're getting ahead of me, but I'll get to it. 1 week from tonight, MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Club's Executive Director, Amy Trotter, will be joining me on Wednesday Night Live. I know you love those. I know you love talking to Amy. It will be your chance to ask her questions. 1 week from tonight on Wednesday Night Live. The rundown for this week's radio show, because it leads me into the Ask Avery segment. Rich Krazan of Killer Food Plots is my lead-off guest, talking about food plotting, what to expect, how to get started. Then Gary Morgan of Wild Game Dynasty. Gary is a bear hunting guide, and he gives some advice on how to choose a guide and what to expect from a bear hunting guide in Michigan. And it's very timely right now because this is the time to apply for your Michigan bear tags. In hour number 2, Joe Marion, friend of mine, really good guy, very interesting guy. He retired Coastie. He spent 20 years in the Coast Guard. He's also a licensed charter captain. So we talk about the Coast Guard and we talk about staying safe on the water, and we talk about the fishing off Ludington right now. He said it's really, really good. You like that shot of my grandson's team, did you? Then Cody Norton of the DNR talks about, again, bear tags, because this is the time. Then this week's Ask Avery segment. I might have to put my glasses on to see this. Tim Licious, Licius, sent an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. His question for Ask Avery this week is, I've heard you talk about Brenton rifles, and you mentioned they are accurate to MOA standard. Tim says, I know just enough about MOA to be dangerous, but I've always heard that it's used in relation to calibers and cartridges. He says, what I understand was that the more flat shooting calibers would produce less MOA over a certain distance. He says, so is it the firearm or the cartridge or what that achieves MOA? And what is MOA? So, false alarm, you're back, Johnny? So, seeing as I'm Mike Avery, and I'm not an expert, but seeing as I'm Mike Avery and I have access to a lot of top-notch, bona fide, certified experts, the question from Tim Licious for this week's Ask Avery segment was about MOA and rifle accuracy. So who do you think I called in to answer that question? You guessed it, Paul Phillips, one of the best extreme long range shooters in the world, jumped on the Ask Avery segment to answer this week's question. He said, basically, MOA, minute of angle, is a method of judging the adjustments of your scope. And he said, MOA is determined by caliber and rifle. Now, Paulie did a much better job of explaining it than I did, but look for that. Waiting for you to come down and slay a buck. Now you're getting back to work. All right, Chris, appreciate that. And then in our third hour of the show this week, Brenda Archambault, the Sturgeon General, talks about the sturgeon guarding project going on right now on the Black River. And he said it's pretty cool. Scott says, Nick Percy's smiling down from ear to ear, hearing Rich pick the ball up and running with you in a KFP podcast. No, we're not doing a KFP podcast, Scott. They're doing some advertising on the radio show. We're not doing a KFP podcast. Rich is on the radio show, and he's advertising on the radio show, and I'm featuring him on the show. And I'm like you, I'm glad to be doing it. And thank you for putting me in touch with him, Scott Hand. It's good to have friends, and I got a lot of them. I'm blessed with a lot of them. All right, Bernie, have a good evening. Okay, so in fact, the way I found this turkey hunting property was through Gary Morgan, who is on the show this week. I reached out to Gary and I said, hey, you talked about some property you have over in Bay County you have access to. I said, I think I educated my birds here next to the house. Can you put me in touch with those people? So Gary Morgan put me in touch with Greg Campo. Greg Campo is a property manager, habitat guy. He's also a food plot guy. And he put me in touch with Kurt, who is one of his clients and a landowner. So Gary to Greg to Kurt, and Kurt says, come on over and hunt. And I did, and I shot that bird. How cool is that? Okay, if you're just joining us, one more time, I'm going to show you some video. Love your podcast. Now, this is interesting. I appreciate what you're saying. Jake says, love your podcast, Mike. I'm not sure you can claim true Michigan outdoorsmanship without being a fan of this show. Thank you. Awesome day today. The shrooms are popping up in Genesee-Oakland County line. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. Let me just clarify some terms here, because these lines are being blurred lately. Oh, yeah, there's going to be Maker's Mark tonight. What you're watching right now is not a podcast. This is a live stream. If you listen to my show on a radio station, it's a radio show, because first and foremost, my show is a radio show. I do make a podcast version of the radio show available to listen to on places other than your local radio station. I know it gets confusing, and I know it really probably doesn't matter, but I like to make the distinction. Okay, so let me show you. Oops, wrong one. I'll remove that one. This is the one I want to see? No, I want to see. Let's see if I can back this thing up. Can I do that? No, that's the video. Can I? There we go. This is what I want to show you. This is the two birds when they came in. They're circling around and strutting around a semi-strut Jake Avian X decoy. Now, if we stick with this video for about a minute, you'll actually see me make the shot. Obviously, two birds there. If you look close, one is bigger than the other. One has a red neck, He's actually a redder neck. He's actually a little bigger than the bird that I shot. The bird that I shot is one right there, but I don't shoot him yet. I let him circle the decoy again. I wasn't going to be picky. I wasn't going to say I'm only going to shoot the biggest bird because they're both nice birds. Look at the beards on both of them. But stick with this. They're circling around, and this is the first time I'd put that Avian X Jake semi-strut decoy out. And the birds did not like it. You can see they're all over it. Okay, I think I'm getting ready to shoot that bird on the right now. Let's see. Yep. Good shot, center punch. The bird's going to die. The bird who's still strutting also knows that that bird is going to die. And you know what's coming if you've turkey hunted. Why they turn on their buddies like this, and watch this bird. He tips upside down. Boop, he's going to die. About 30 feet from where I shot him. So his other bird, his other buddy, okay, so we'll get rid of that, remove that. So if you've turkey hunted before, you know that when one bird gets shot, the other birds turn on him. And here it is. The bird that I shot is dying, flopping and flapping. And so his buddy, that was his best friend, his running buddy 30 seconds ago, comes over and starts to wail on him. Peck at him. I'm not going to show you the ultimate disgrace that the one bird displayed to the other, because it's a little bit obscene. But look at this. Okay, you're dead now? Let me peck at your head. Let me give you grief. You're dead. Let me add insult to injury, and let me peck at you. Mother Nature. She's something else, isn't she? Yes, there will be Maker's Mark tonight. Car Hauler says the sturgeon guard is a great thing. It's cool to see them in the river. I agree. Randy Murray, how you doing tonight, buddy? Glad to have you along with us. Jake says, gotcha. And Jake, listen, I know I came across as kind of being a jerk, and I am kind of a jerk, but I didn't mean to be a jerk to you. But it's just something I like to clarify because, and I think as much as anything, it might be for my ego, because everybody has a podcast. Everybody has an outdoor podcast these days. There aren't very darn many in the country statewide syndicated outdoor radio shows because it's pretty darn hard to put one together and keep it on the air. I'm on 33 stations. I've been doing it for 30 years. So that's the distinction, okay? Outdoor podcasts, and there are some very, very good ones, but they're easy to do, and everybody does one. Syndicated outdoor radio show, a little bit harder. Hey, Terry, how are things in Shingleton? Good evening, Dave. How are you? Okay, so before we go, one last video. This last video was shot from my phone. This is the surviving bird, and he goes back into full strut, and he is 20 yards away with the sun shining on him. An absolutely beautiful image. How cool is that? To get to experience these types of things in the outdoors and then record them. This is just on my phone. Anybody can do this on their phone. Nice, huh? Okay. Brian says, okay, hopefully you get yourself a bear next. Okay, I started to tell this, my strategy for going to White River. I will shoot the first respectable bear that walks in front of me. I will shoot the first respectable bear that walks in front of me. So, because I need to get back home. I will. Mark says, Peter says he's just attempting CPR. Okay, John says he sees two Angler Quest 8526 Pro Troll Tri-Tunes ready to go at Apex today. One has registration numbers and a plate on the trailer. Are the MC numbers, are they factory MC numbers? And I'm trying to think of what factory MC numbers are. It's MC dealer. John, if those MC numbers say DL on the end, that's my boat. What time of day was this, Brian? It was 7:15 Monday morning. 7:15 Monday morning. Good evening, Ruben. How are things in Colorado? John says, will that be a box or gun hunt for the bear? Box or gun hunt? I think you mean bow, John. It'll be a crossbow. I'll use my a new 10-point crossbow. In fact, I will use that for just about everything. Okay, Jake, we're on the same page, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. John says, bow, not box. It'll be a bow hunt. Crossbow. And I'll be sitting in a Wraith 270 see-through ground blind. I'll be 15 yards from the bait. Farther, if I can, I'd like to be 25 or at least 20. But when you're bear hunting up there, you are right. Mark can vouch for me. You are right on top of the bait. Now, I will get grief for bear hunting over bait. You can count on that. Oh, that's not ethical. And this will be from fellow hunters, not just from anti-hunters. It'll be from fellow purists. The purists who say you shouldn't hunt over bait. To which I say, unless you're hunting with a recurve bow that you made yourself from a willow sapling or whatever it would be, a birch sapling, and unless you're using a string that you wove together out of deer intestines, and unless you're using a cedar arrow that you made yourself and you've fletched it with turkey feathers that you killed yourself and did it that way, and you're using a broadhead that you chipped out of flint, what do they call it? You napped it. You flint napped it. You don't have any right to tell anybody how to do anything when it comes to bow hunting. And I'll say this again. The first time I ever saw a crossbow was when I was talking with Fred Bear at Grouse Haven, and they were demonstrating the crossbow technology to Fred Bear, and he didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I ain't going to have a problem with it. And you probably shouldn't have a problem with it either. UV on the end. Oh, you're looking at it right now. UV is not mine. Doggone it. Mine's out there. Mine's out there. What do you say that we end this thing like I like to end them? This happens to be the Outdoor Magazine music. It is, Arlen. Nice to have you along with us. John, you have a great night as well. Fire up the music, Cliff says. There it is. All right, my friends, my name is Mike Avery. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Your questions, your comments, your criticisms. Send your pictures to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Enjoy the weather. Have a good night. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your congrats on the bird. I appreciate that. And I will be firing one up. Cigar, that is. And filling this with some Maker's Mark. Have a good night, my friends. Thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, same place, same time. Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, will be here on Wednesday Night